How do you respond after getting crushed 6-2 in the first set? For most players, that kind of scoreline leaves a scar. But for Eala, it did something very different. It sparked a challenge. Because after Coco Gauff dominated their last meeting in Dubai, the young Filipina didn't walk away frustrated. She walked away thinking about the next time. And now, the tennis world might get exactly that. Because at Indian Wells, one of the biggest tournaments outside the Grand Slams, Eala has arrived with momentum, a rapidly growing fan base, and something very interesting to say about Coco Gauff. And if things fall into place in the draw, these two could collide again very soon. But here's the real question that has fans buzzing right now. Is Eala ready to turn that painful loss into something much bigger? To understand why this moment matters, you have to look at what has been happening around Eala over the past year, because something unusual is taking place every time she walks onto a tennis court. Crowds are showing up, and not just small pockets of supporters. We're talking about loud, passionate fans filling sections of stadiums with Philippine flags, cheering every point, every rally, every comeback attempt. On the WTA Tour, popularity doesn't usually explode overnight. It normally takes years of Grand Slam runs, big titles, and headline victories. But Eala seems to be skipping that slow process entirely. At just 20 years old, she has already become one of the most talked about young players in tennis. And when she arrives at tournaments now, there's a noticeable energy in the crowd. Players notice it. Commentators notice it. And recently, even Coco Gauff talked about it. But before we get to that part of the story, let's rewind for a moment, because Eala's 2026 season didn't start quietly. She came into the year with confidence and began building a series of performances that caught attention across the tennis world. Match by match, round by round, she started showing the kind of composure that young players usually need years to develop. Her run at the Dubai Tennis Championships became one of the clearest examples of that progress. Dubai is not an easy tournament. The field is stacked with elite players, experienced champions, and some of the most dangerous hitters on the tour. And yet Eala kept pushing forward. One of her biggest wins came against Jasmine Paolini, a player known for her relentless movement and ability to frustrate opponents. That victory alone made people pause and take notice. Because beating someone like Paolini at that stage of the tournament requires more than talent. It requires belief. It requires discipline. And it requires the ability to stay calm when the pressure rises. Eala delivered all of that. Suddenly, she was standing in the quarterfinals of one of the biggest tournaments of the early season, and waiting for her on the other side of the net was Coco Gauff. Now, Coco Gauff doesn't need much introduction. She's already one of the biggest stars in the sport, a Grand Slam champion, an elite athlete, and someone who has carried enormous expectations since she was a teenager. When Gauff steps onto the court, she brings speed, power, and a level of competitive intensity that can overwhelm opponents quickly. And that's exactly what happened in Dubai. From the very first game, Gauff came out playing aggressive, confident tennis. The rallies were fast. The pressure was constant, and before Eala could find her rhythm, the first set was already over. 6-2. For many players, a set like that can spiral into frustration. But something interesting happened in the second set. Eala kept fighting. She kept chasing balls. She kept trying to solve the puzzle that Gauff was presenting across the net. The final score ended up being 6-2 in Gauff's favor. A comfortable win for the American. But the story didn't end there. Because after the match, something else became part of the conversation. The fans. During the tournament, the support for Eala had been loud and passionate. Filipino fans, many of whom traveled long distances, made sure their voices were heard. And Coco Gauff noticed it. She acknowledged the energy surrounding Eala and the unique atmosphere those fans were creating during matches. It was one of those moments where you could feel the tennis world recognizing that something new might be forming around this young player, a rising star with a rapidly growing global following. But what makes Eala's response to all of this so interesting is the way she talks about her losses. Instead of frustration, she talks about lessons. Instead of disappointment, she talks about growth. And when she recently spoke about her match with Coco Gauff, Her reaction surprised a lot of people, because she didn't avoid the topic. She leaned into it. She said she would love to play Coco Gauff again, not because the first match was close, not because she felt unlucky, but because she believes every time she shares a court with someone like Gauff, she learns something valuable. Think about that mindset for a moment. Many players try to avoid the opponents who expose their weaknesses. Eala is doing the opposite. She wants the rematch. She openly calls Gauff an incredible athlete and an incredible person, someone she sees as a role model in the sport, and she says every time they play, she walks away with new insights. That attitude tells you a lot about where her career might be heading, because the players who improve the fastest are usually the ones who embrace difficult moments instead of hiding from them. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Indian Wells. For tennis fans, Indian Wells isn't just another tournament on the calendar. It's often called the fifth Grand Slam. The desert setting, the massive stadium, and the star-studded player field make it one of the most prestigious events outside the majors. And this year marks Alex Eala's debut at the tournament. For her, that moment alone represents a dream coming true. She has talked openly about how special it feels just to be there, to step into a place she has watched on television for years, to feel the energy of thousands of fans inside one of tennis's most iconic venues. But the draw has created a fascinating possibility. If both players win their opening matches, Eala and Coco Gauff could meet again in the third round. That possibility has already started conversations among fans, because rematches like this often produce very different matches the second time around. The first meeting gives both players information. The second meeting tests who learn the most from it. Eala has received a first-round bye and will face either Diana Yastremska or Shuai Zhang in her opening match. Both are experienced players capable of causing problems, so nothing is guaranteed yet. But if she gets through that challenge, the path toward a Gauff rematch becomes real. On the other side, Coco Gauff will begin her campaign against either Kamila Rakimova or Bianca Andreescu. Andreescu, of course, brings her own story into this tournament. The 2019 U.S. Open champion has battled injuries over the years but remains one of the most dangerous players when she's healthy. So Gauff's path won't be easy either. But imagine the atmosphere if both players reach the third round. The crowd, the storylines, the curiosity surrounding how Eala might adjust after the Dubai match. It would instantly become one of the most intriguing matches of the early rounds. And here's something that adds another layer to their relationship. These two players have actually been teammates before. In 2025, Eala and Coco Gauff teamed up in doubles at the Italian Open. For fans, it was an unexpected but exciting pairing. Two young stars from different parts of the world sharing the same side of the net. They played well together too. The partnership reached the quarterfinals before eventually losing to Jasmine Paolini and Sara Errani. Moments like that matter because they allow players to see each other from a completely different perspective. Instead of studying an opponent across the net, you're standing beside them, learning how they think, how they communicate, how they approach pressure points. It creates a kind of respect that only teammates understand. So, when Eala talks about Gauff as both an incredible athlete and an incredible person, those words carry extra weight. She's not just speaking as an opponent. She's speaking as someone who has shared the court with her, and that makes the potential rematch even more fascinating, because it's not fueled by rivalry or hostility, it's fueled by ambition and respect. But let's also talk about Coco Gauff's history at Indian Wells, because this tournament has played an interesting role in her career. Back in 2021, Gauff made her debut at the event. Like many young players entering Indian Wells for the first time, she was stepping into a massive stage. She received a first-round bye and then defeated Caroline Garcia in her opening match. That victory pushed her into the third round, where she faced Spain's Paula Badosa. Badosa eventually won that match, but even then, the tennis world could see how dangerous Gauff was becoming. After the match, Badosa spoke openly about the challenge Gauff presented. She highlighted Gauff's athleticism, her powerful serve, and her impressive backhand. Those qualities were already making life difficult for opponents. And over the next few years, Gauff kept building on that foundation. By 2024, she produced her best run at Indian Wells, reaching the semi-finals before losing to Maria Sakkari. That performance confirmed something important. Coco Gauff knows how to play well in the desert conditions of Indian Wells. So, if a rematch with Eala does happen there, she'll likely enter as the favorite again. But tennis is full of surprises, and sometimes the most dangerous opponent is the one who has nothing to lose. Eala is still building her career. Every match against top players is another step in her development, another chance to gather experience, another opportunity to test herself at the highest level, and when players approach those moments with curiosity instead of fear, they often grow faster than expected. So here's the question I want to throw to all of you watching. If Eala and Coco Gauff meet again at Indian Wells, do you think the result will look the same as Dubai? Or could we see a completely different battle? Because tennis history is full of examples where one-sided matches turned into thrilling rivalries. The first meeting rarely tells the full story. Sometimes, it's just the beginning, and if Eala continues rising the way she has over the past year, this might not be the last time these two names appear in the same headline. For now, though, the focus is simple. Win the next match, handle the pressure, and see where the draw leads. Whether the rematch happens in this tournament or somewhere down the road, one thing is clear. Eala isn't intimidated by the biggest stars in tennis. She's learning from them, she's chasing them, and she's openly inviting the challenge. And honestly, that mindset might be the most exciting part of her story. Because the future of tennis is built on moments exactly like this. Young players stepping onto the biggest stages, facing the toughest opponents, and refusing to back down. And if the stars align in Indian Wells, we might be watching the next chapter of something very special. Before we wrap up, I want to hear your thoughts. If Eala and Coco Gauff meet again at Indian Wells, what do you think will happen? Will Gauff dominate again? Or will Eala close the gap and turn it into a real battle? Drop your predictions in the comments because this could become one of the most exciting matchups of the tournament. And if you love following the biggest stories in tennis, make sure you stick around. Because here at RedDust Report, we're always tracking the rivalries, the rising stars, and the moments that shape the future of the sport. This is RedDust Report, and we'll see you in the next one.